So I'm going to go into your reading. I do feel, once again, we have the Mercury retrograde period. It is going to continue. It starts the beginning of the month. I believe it's on the 8th or the 9th, and it's going to run into May 3rd. And so the Mercury retrograde period is for us to kind of lie low, for us to wrap up projects, finishing up things that we have been procrastinating on, finishing up things that we have, where, it's like revisiting things to make sure we can review it and to make sure that it is produced or it is being brought forth in the best light. So I do feel this energy about wrapping up things. Anything that has been problematic. I also feel like reorganizing, redoing the inventory to make sure, like, take stock of what you have and what you need to purchase. Okay. So I do feel a lot of this coming through. For those of you who are running your own business, there will be, shortages, I feel, when it comes to inventories. For example, if you have a specific item and you're running low on stock, try to reorder them, the supply early on, because I feel like, it's kind of like Murphy's Law. Whatever you feel like you're low on inventory about, you want to replenish the stock because everybody is going to want that same item. So there's going to be a little bit of contention if you have been procrastinating on reordering things, if you have been kind of, taking care of other things, or you're not taking care of like office supplies, for example. If you're running a business, that's going to be coming through. Okay. And it's going to cause a little bit of a problems, a little bit of a blockage when it comes to the smooth flow in the income sector or in the work environment. So you want to make sure, for those of you who are business owners, make sure that everything you need in order to conduct business, inventory is being replenished. Okay. The other thing I'm feeling here with this spread, and let's talk about this card here, because I feel like the energy is coming through quite strongly. So this is the Star, and the Star is basically a card about coming into a situation where we feel like we're in alignment with our life path. What it is that we feel we're supposed to be doing here in this physical plane, and what it is that we feel is our higher calling. I feel like the month of March, there has been a lot of changes for many of you, and I feel like it's coming through in your finance sector, how you're making money, whether or not the way that you've been making money has been sustainable, and whether or not it is like using all of the skills that you possess, and whether or not you're being, your skills are being properly developed and utilized in an environment. And I do sense for some of you in the past, okay, you might have stuck around in a situation that was not like optimal, but you stayed in it for security reasons. And you might have done things that, other signs would consider, where you're underpaid and overworked. But I feel like you stayed in it mainly because you thought that, oh, things are going to get better. Or you thought that, this situation is bearable. So I feel like you put up with a lot in the past, in the most like, mundane type of environment. I feel like you did it. And I feel this element here about you kind of emerging from that and coming into the sense of realization where your strengths lie, what your assets are, what skills you're bringing to the table. And this energy about, feeling replenished, rejuvenated, and feeling almost like you know what you need to do in order to get yourself to the next level so you can develop more skills. So this is a card basically about having faith and having, that sense of confidence in ourselves that no matter what, if we put our mind to it, we can accomplish anything. So you're coming out of this sense of like, am I really good enough, to the empowering sense that, yes, I am good enough. And so I feel like this comes about as a result of some learning curve, some major hurdle that you have had to overcome in the month of March. And it's getting you to this point right now where you don't doubt your capabilities. You don't doubt yourself. You don't doubt your skills. And you are bringing, the skills that you possess, whatever hurdles you had to overcome. It forced you to stand in your truth. It forced you to be very assertive as well. And so you're bringing those lessons into this new month. And I feel like the first test of this is going to come into the work environment. You are dealing with, hostile energies in the work environment. This is a card about being very nimble on your feet, about having to deal with many, many people and possibly sorting out their problems, sorting out their grievances, sorting out their complaints. And I do see this is like, electronic type of communication, emails, text messages, even phone calls. So just make sure that your phone is charged. And I do feel that you might be bombarded with a lot of communication. I do see as well, if you're dealing with this physical person, there might be an air sign, so an Aquarius, a Gemini, or a Libra in your work environment that is creating a little bit of tension, okay? I don't feel the tension is directed at you, but I do feel that this person is bringing in a very, I want to say, I feel like aggressive or even chaotic energy. It's like whenever they're around, the environment gets louder, the tension gets thicker. And so navigating the energies of having to work as a team with this person, it's going to be a little bit of a challenge. I feel because they're showing up in the upright position, this is somebody that cares about the truth. They're not an instigator. They just want to, sort out the truth. They just want to get the facts straight. And so they might have a little bit of a curt, frank, or even like aggressive way in which they're trying to get to the bottom of things. So don't take this energy personally, okay? Just be very careful when it comes to communication with this person. And so once again, whatever skills you have learned in the March timeframe, whatever conclusions you have drawn about your capabilities and, the good qualities that you bring to an environment, I feel use that same calmness. Keep yourself very, very centered, because the energy for this month is going to be a little bit destabilizing, especially at work. And I feel a lot of it has to do with retrograde energy, where problems from the past kind of come back. And you might not have caused these problems, but you're now in a position where you have to deal with them. And so in the communication sector, don't get defensive. Don't take things personally. You're not, you're not God. So don't try to take on so much responsibilities and make promises that you can't deliver. Okay. So if people are coming in and they're kind of like, fix this, fix that, just tell them, I will get back to you when I have the time. When I finish my previous obligations, I will get back to you. So don't bite off more than you can chew. Pick your battles. And I feel like, this is a situation where I feel a lot of you are generally very passive, and you're going to be thrust into a position where you have to defend your values, where you have to set the record straight. And I feel that looking at this situation from an objective lens rather than taking things personally is something that's going to win you over with everybody around you. Okay. And you're very good at that, Capricorn, but I feel like more so this time, just internally for your own sake. Just make sure that you understand that you're doing things by the book. People's complaints, people's problems, it can wait. And it honestly can wait, because the energy for this Mercury retrograde, it is kicking up a dust storm and it's affecting people and how they communicate. So don't take things personally. Okay. What I do see coming through is, from the last month, I mentioned there has been some type of, I mentioned about father figures, especially, and I mentioned about health issues. I do see that energy still permeating for this month. And I do feel here with both of these cards coming out so early on, with the star, which indicates healing, the strength card, which traditionally it is a card about, physical strength. So stamina, physical strength and stamina type of energy where it might be diminishing. Okay. So get in touch once again with your parents. Make sure they're okay. The elderly people in your lives. I feel like that's going to be quite important for you guys for this month. All right. First of all, let's talk about your expectations coming through for this month. And I mentioned earlier, you are the lone wolf of the zodiac. And, if you have to work in a basement, right, and you have to stare at the computer all day, or if you had to work in a cubicle and you had to interact, on just doing something that is very tedious. You're very good at that. You don't mind that. But the energy is kind of like forcing you to get out and heavily socialize and deal with people. So a lot of you might be in the customer service type of capacity, okay? And where you're going to have to make sure that you sort out people's issues, where you're going to have to make sure that you do quality control and that everybody is happily served. And I feel like it is taking a little bit energetically from you. So I do feel like that's something that you might not be comfortable with, but that's something that you're going to have to learn to deal with and to cope. And I hate saying that because it just feels like, there's no way out, but I feel it's a little bit of a learning curve. And once you bypass this curve, you're going to handle the energies of other people without a problem and without it heavily affecting you. So the month is more about, carving that personal space for yourself whenever you have the time, but also managing other people's and their complaints, and even possibly, managing an environment where you have to heavily socialize with people that you might not know well. And you might have to, attend functions and events for your work. And you might also need to be, meeting a lot of people in your field, people who are very accomplished, people who are actually very, very wealthy is what I'm sensing. So like rubbing elbows with the rich and famous. This is something you might have to do just by the nature of your work. And I feel like it's making you a little bit nervous and anxious. They're going to pan out fine. Those events are going to be okay. All right. So don't stress too much over it. Things will happen and unfold the way they're meant to. So, don't stress out over it too much. Okay. The energy that you bring to the table, though, it is very, very strong. It shows somebody who's actually very quite confident. And I feel like you're doing so in a very soft, unassuming manner. So you will be able to attract people to you. Okay. I also feel for some of you, there might have been like a new job that you might have started. And you're learning the procedures, you're learning the technical skills. And I do see, a lot of computer-based work. I do feel like people who might have to, sit in front of a computer, do data entry. And I also feel people like working heavily with their hands as well to create products and to create things. And so as a result of it, I do sense that you need to take better care of your physical health. So this means, doing stretches, like don't just stare blankly at the computer. You need to get out, you need to exercise a little bit more, because I feel like the nature of the work itself, it might demand long hours, it might demand overtime. And so you need to take better care of your health, okay? The financial situation is flowing in very strongly. So you have the Strength card, which basically tells you that you're on the right track here when it comes to your financial situation. We have as well the Six of Wands, which basically means getting positive accolades and reception for a work well done. And we have you working away in order to finalize projects, finalize contracts, in order to deliver on the promises that you made to clients, to guests. So the money situation is flowing in a very, very stable manner. All right. I do see a lot of money being siphoned into the household. So they're saying, large expenditures in the living environment. So this can be physical rent that you are paying where it exceeds a certain, percentage of your income. And I also feel like social functions where you might have to buy expensive clothing in order to dress up, in order to show your best foot forward. And you are not comfortable, spending an extravagant amount of money on a social outing, especially on an outfit. But there will be circumstances where you're going to have to dress up, like I feel formally, or like evening wear. And I feel like, expensive clothing. And so there are some expenditures coming through household, okay, rent or even renovation or even expanding the household, such as a few remodeling as well. And then social function, business, professional events where you're going to have to expend money to dress up. So I do see a lot of you getting invited to really fun, exciting, but also like professional events and engagement where you will be able to meet people who are very accomplished in their field. So it's a really good energy. What I'm sensing as well is I feel like you're going to be quite busy this month. This card is, just working away, chipping away at responsibilities and working in a very diligent fashion. A lot of the times it can also indicate, job searches, but I feel like that predominantly has come in for you guys in the past month. So I feel like you're working away at your craft and you're honing the skills to provide a better like craftsmanship or a better services for others. And so because the energy is very, very busy, I feel like social engagement and even I want to say like social events just for fun and entertainment, their opportunities might not be there mainly because you might not have the time. Okay. And either way, I feel like this deals with friendships and group associations. And I feel like a lot of you, too, you also have a habit of making friends in the work environment. There's nothing wrong with that. So I feel like there's a heavy energy of mixing business with pleasure. I do see like drinks flowing in a business professional environment. So I feel almost like this collapsing of the friendship circle with the professional circle and mingling and blending the two, which is good. And this is something that I feel it saves you time. You instead of having to carve out individual time to spend with friends, I feel you're collapsing, the friendship circle as well as the professional circle so that you kill two birds with one stone. And a lot of it has to do with just circumstances, but also it's because of the time crunch as well. I do see a very heavy energy for in-laws. Okay, so the house of in-laws is traditionally represented by the ninth house, and we have here the Queen of Wands. So I feel like for some of you, you might be dealing with this person. This can be male or female, but I feel like it's an in-law type of energies where somebody is very, very this is not a bad card, is in the upright position, and it's somebody who might be very maternal. So male or female, they're very caring, they're very loving, and I feel like they're always available if you need them. And they might drop by your door and they might tell you, hey, if you need anything, don't hesitate to call me, because I feel like they realize you are inundating yourself with a lot of responsibilities and they want to be of assistance. I feel like this is somebody who's already retired and they love children. So if you have like a new child or you have young children in the picture, they're going to want to be more involved and they're going to, come by your house with food, with toys, and they might even want to, babysit pets if you have them. So I feel like there's a heavy involvement. There's a heavy energy here of people willing to help you. Okay, so delegate responsibilities. At the same time, I have this energy in your fourth house, which deals with family. So in the family environment, this is a card about, needing to say what's on your mind, needing to resolve issues, and needing to stay ahead of the game. If something creeps up in your household environment where you feel like things are a little bit chaotic, or you feel like you need to have a talk with your partner or whoever you're living with, even like a roommate, I feel like you're sweeping something under the rug or you're waiting for things to escalate before you say something. And I just want to say like the energy for this month is about, nipping things in the bud. If something creeps up, address it. If something is problematic, just address it early on so that people can just, get things out in the air and then happily find a resolution and then move on. Okay. So let me see if there's anything else. Okay, so the relationship sector. So going back to what I mentioned about contracts and what I mentioned overall about relationships in love and in business, I feel that this is what I'm sensing. For some of you, love relationships. Okay, let's talk about that first. For some of you who are in a love relationship, you're making really good strides this entire year. I feel like a lot of new things are coming through for you. And Capricorns, I feel like a lot of the times in work, you stay in one place and you stay for a really long time, even past its expiration date. And then also in love relationships as well, you could possibly stay in a situation that is not optimal, but you keep at it until, it's past its expiration date. And so one thing I would urge you here is when it comes to love relationships, you want to be honest with yourself and you really want to examine whether or not the other person is still allowing you to grow. A lot of the times too, when we expand really fast, right? And when we have a lot of opportunities that come in for us, right? And we're growing, we're progressing, we might look at our relationships in a different light. We might feel like they're no longer valid, or we might feel like we're drifting apart. And the same goes with your friendship circle. So I do feel this is a good month for you to reconnect with your friends, reconnect with people that you might have fallen out of touch with, expand your social networks, and don't cocoon yourself into relationships too much. You want to expand your energy out a little bit more. Okay, so this is a card here when it comes to relationships. It's about examining areas where whether or not the relationship is still good for you, and whether or not you can make changes to not cocoon in a relationship, but expand your energy outwards. Okay, so it's a good card. And literally, some of you could just be involved here. This is a card of Virgo. A Virgo in energy, a very, very strong spiritual person that is providing a lot of guidance, they're providing a shoulder for you to lean on, okay? And also in partnerships, I feel like the same thing applies. Don't wait for things to happen at the last minute. You want to make sure that anything that is agreed upon, anything that is verbally or implicitly agreed upon is written down on paper so that both parties are clear about their expectations, who's contributing what, who's getting what out or what percentage out. So this is a card about reassessment and really looking deep and digging deep into the relationship sector as it relates to love partnerships or even business partnerships to figure out who's doing their fair share and how we can also cut expenditures so that we're not operating at a loss or we're operating at a wider, revenue margin. Okay. You have some really positive things. The only thing I feel might be a little bit contentious would be having to deal with other people, sorting out other people's problems. But I feel like such is life. And so this is the month where I feel like you're going to be in very high demand. On the work front, I feel like work responsibilities are calling you left and right, okay? And you're not the type to procrastinate, so I don't feel responsibilities piling up to the point where you can't handle them. It's just the energy is a little bit more about other people, about sorting out people's problems, sorting out, having to connect and engage with other people. And if you are a little bit more on the introverted and especially shy side, if you tend to be more of a wallflower at social functions, it's going to feel a little bit uncomfortable because there will be opportunities to engage in a large group and you might feel a little bit shy, you might feel a little bit trepidatious, but don't shy away from the social engagement. It's going to be really good for your professional career.